did you know you can use the parasite camouflage or active camo to hide from Quiet in the boss battle? Even if you run around, for the most part she won't be able to see you unless you make loud noises close by. And for whatever reason, diving breaks your camouflage for a second, causing her to try guessing where you are. But otherwise, you can easily sneak up on her using this method. Plus, just like how you can command Quiet to ricochet grenades as your buddy, if you throw some in her line of sight during the boss battle, she will shoot it back at you. Meaning whatever type of grenade it is, it'll be turned against you, so watch out. Quiet is also weak to stuns and sleep gas in both her boss fight and when playing as her in FOB missions, but has a high resistance to lethal weapons, including fire and Molotov, so you're better off just using CQC. In fact, there's actually a lot more insane details scattered around MGS5's gameplay features, story mode cutscenes, and even cut content from the game. High-leveled items only available in FOB missions have some insane abilities. One of my favorite being this personal shield that basically turns Big Boss into a droideka for a few seconds. Although it's not that strong, it does look pretty cool. This also goes for the dark matter generator that destroys cameras and other equipment it passes through but does very little damage to people. Another cool weapon is the Renov sniper rifle, which acts as a railgun having no bullet drop from what I can tell, making it great for long distance takedowns. These next weapons are available outside FOBs but are still insanely strong, like the AMA non-lethal pistol, which bypasses heavy body armor and instantly tranquilizes the enemy, making it one of the best pistols to use in high-level FOBs. But because it's a gas-based tranq, it doesn't have any effect on soldiers with gas masks, so watch out. Another cool pistol is the first tranquilizer you get in the game. Eventually, you can unlock Ground Zero's version with a permanent suppressor, and or the CB version that has a much higher effective range and can even be put as an underbarrel attachment to lethal weapons, making your loadout a lot more versatile. The problem though with these equipments is that they cost a fortune to develop and deploy with, which is why by far the best and most cost-effective weapon in the game is the water pistol, because shooting the water pistol at the skulls will cause their parasites to react and stop attacking for a brief moment to absorb the liquid. The same thing happens when doing this to Quiet in her boss battle and as her partner. But the water pistol has a lot more uses. You can destroy the enemy's electrical equipment with it, and spraying guards in the face while in reflex mode will cause them to stagger for a few seconds, giving Snake a chance to quickly escape or use CQC. But by far the best use of the water pistol is against the man on fire, which won't only slow him down but can defeat him if you're patient enough. Plus, pushing the man on fire in the pool of water will also instantly kill him. In fact, if you put soldiers in water facing the sky, nothing happens, but if they're facing down, they will eventually drown, which is insane. For this reason, when trying to lay down flat in a body of water, Snake won't lower his head, unlike on dry land. But even if you manage to submerge his head from being knocked out or put to sleep, Snake won't drown for some reason. In the final cutscene of Act 1, Kaz takes off his glasses, revealing his eyes have turned the same color as Venom's blind eye. This has caused speculation that Miller became blind after his torture in Afghanistan, but this doesn't explain how he's able to see people pretty easily in most cutscenes. Well, the game only gives us a few hints. When rescuing Miller in the beginning of the game, he still has his original eye colors, and when asked about his vision, he says,
"It's just bright as all,"
suggesting he's become photosensitive or visually impaired to a large degree, which is why it takes him a few seconds to recognize Snake.
Snake.
Then we don't see Kaz for some time until the quiet cutscene with his supposed blind eyes, but somehow can see better than before. This is probably from the life-saving parasite treatment he had to undergo, but more on that later. So he might be visually impaired for longer distances, but I think the parasites restored some short-sighted vision. There's a lot of interesting gameplay features that help make getting S ranks on missions much easier. One of my favorites being the smoke grenade. Throwing a lot of smoke grenades on a jeep will make you practically invisible, allowing you to drive through the entirety of OKB-0 without being detected until you get to the hangar stairways, because most of the smoke duration ends up finishing. And since S ranks are points based, even if you get detected, you'll still earn enough from time. Another cool feature are these delivery posts. Each base has one with a tag on it, but removing the tag allows you to be delivered to other bases as a cardboard box. So in missions like Hellbound, where you start pretty far away from Emmerich's base, you can bypass the long distance by using the delivery system to instantly spawn in the base. Some other cool tricks are using CQC on Eli before he notices you will instantly stun him, skipping the boss fight entirely, and will make all the other child soldiers give up. You can also skip the Skulls encounter entirely in mission 1 by switching the helicopter's LZ, which makes it a lot easier and faster. And as a cool side note, even if you don't have the Fulton upgrade for kids, you can still extract them with a vehicle by putting them inside. This also works for the injured kid in the Blood Runs Deep mission. In the beginning of Kaz's rescue mission, Ocelot says this:
I give him 3 days tops.
if you actually take longer than 3 days to rescue him, the cutscene will change to this.
Kaz. Kaz, it's me. I'm here to get you out. Kaz.
This meant that Kaz needed the parasite therapy to save his life, since he most probably lost his limbs from when the skulls attacked his unit not too long before. This has caused people to believe that Kaz came out of the helicopter crash from Ground Zeroes relatively unscathed, since even though it's a bit hard to tell, in the hospital scene it doesn't look like he's missing any limbs. Plus, judging from the bloodstains around his missing limbs, it's pretty safe to say he lost them during this incident, which is why he needed immediate medical attention from the parasites. In some story mode missions, there's secret events happening around the map that usually involve POWs. Like for example in mission 25, around the south part of the map you can find this POW wandering around the wilderness, as well as these jackals not too far away. If you take too long to come rescue him, the jackals will eventually attack and have him for lunch. This is pretty easy to miss since it happens very early on in the mission and away from the main points of interest. Similarly, in mission 9, there's a squad of Russian soldiers searching for this escaped prisoner in the mountain ranges. Once again, you can choose to save him or let the squad eventually track him down and execute him. Though for some reason the executioner kept missing his shots on a non-moving target, so just take my word for it. Plus, in mission 10, the Soviet soldiers also have a few POWs in the castle fortress, which they will start executing if you don't rescue them early in the mission. There's a lot more like these that we've missed, so let us know your favorites in the comments. In early footage of the Phantom Pain, Kojima shows off this ghost decoy named Lisa, which is a character from the Silent Hill demo released during MGS5's development. This was sadly cut from the game, and we only get Snake's decoy in the final version. In fact, there's a lot of other cut content as seen in D-Dog's concept art. It seems he was intended to be an actual dog earlier on, which also appears in the opening of Ground Zeroes, and are the same dogs shown in the Fox Engine tech demo in 2011, as well as the ones seen in the Diamond Dogs logo. Plus, in the 2014 Tokyo Game Show, you meet D-Dog with his mom that was killed in a forest in Zaire. But this was also changed in the final release to just finding him randomly in Afghanistan. Another piece of cut content is Chico, as seen in the game's art book and early versions of the Phantom Pain script leaked online. Chico was intended to reappear as a mass murderer on the battlefields of Zaire. Apparently, Amanda would have notified Big Boss and sent him to Chico, but he would have been an optional ally like Quiet depending on the player's choice. Kojima also said Chico's arc deviated too much from the main story, so it was ultimately cut out, leaving his fate in the helicopter crash of Ground Zeroes. Another infamous piece of cut content is Chapter 3, which has an unused title card found in the game's files. Many players speculated that to achieve Chapter 3, you have to rid the entire server of nukes, which will then play this secret 8-minute cutscene I'm showing on screen. Konami even hinted at this on Twitter, but as seen in a video from DidYouKnowGaming's channel, sadly there's around 40 phantom nukes that don't allow true peace to ever be achieved legitimately, meaning in the game's current unfinished state, nuclear disarmament isn't actually possible and is just used to prolong the game's relevancy. Kojima even somewhat confirmed this in a tweet, saying the event was just a social experiment of sorts. So what was in the unfinished Chapter 3? Well, Looking at all the translations of its title card, they all mean peace except in Japanese, which says Kyose. This directly translates to symbiosis or coexistence, which appears in the final sentence of the final cutscene of the game.
One of us will have to kill the other.
Fine by me. Until then, we'd better get used to coexisting.
あんたとはそれまでの強制だ。
So instead of the truth mission randomly popping up for the player after Quiet leaves, I think chapter 3 would have started with the unfinished mission 51, where Big Boss rematches Sahelanthropus and Eli, since Eli and Psycho Mantis' symbiotic relationship fits perfectly with this theme. Next, I think Chico's events would have happened, followed by a revisit to Camp Omega, which was confirmed by Kojima to be included in the game before being cut. Revisiting Camp Omega probably would have messed with Venom's memories of that day, including the distorted past memories we kinda get out of nowhere in her current involvement of the game. And then finally finishing off with the truth epilogue, revealing Venom's true identity and symbiotic relationship with Big Boss. Though keep in mind, this is just my own speculation, but there's still a lot more insane details in MGS5 that raise even more questions, like Huey's innocence. Find out more in this video here.